What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the franchise. Here we are going to be doing, I believe this is episode 5 or 6 on the season, and we're pretty much going to be finishing out the season here. Not a lot left, but I do want to mention we've gotten a lot of really nice wins here in September. This team is super streaky. As you guys remember, we put together a really nice winning streak at the beginning of August, and then we finished August with a huge losing streak. Come into September here, we start out with a lot of wins. There's a lot of green on this screen. And so I just want to say that we are kind of in a position to compete for a wild card spot in the playoffs. If I go to standings here real quick and go to the NL wild card, you guys will see we're 3 games back of the Phillies. We have 2 series left on our schedule against the Padres. And I just wanted to bring you guys in to simulate here what goes on in terms of the end of the season, because this could get exciting if we win some games against the Padres and stuff like that. We could potentially find ourselves in a wild card spot. We're obviously not going to be winning the division. The Dodgers have clinched that. But certainly worth noting that we're only 3 games back of the Phillies right now. So let's go ahead and simulate through and see what happens. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. I'm not going to do it game by game. Let's just try to simulate through the end of the month and see what happens. All right, so we get 1 loss against the Padres, 2 losses against the Padres. We've just picked up a whole bunch of wins. So we only got 2 losses in this span here. You guys can see, I don't know why, but when we're simulating, we are getting so many wins. We are now up to 87 and 72. And that's bringing us to the final series here against the Padres. Let's go ahead and check the standings again. We are 1 game back of the Phillies in the wild card race. We could very well find ourselves in the wild card here. And if that happens, I'm going to be honest with you guys, we're going to have to play that game and see what happens. So let's go ahead and let's go game by game. Let's go game by game. We get a loss against the Padres, so that might knock us out right there. We're going to get another pulled leg muscle. 2 losses. We're almost certainly out of it now. Let's check the standings. We're still 1 game back. What is going on? What? Okay, and the Phillies and Nationals are tied for that final wild card spot. They might have to do a playing game. Well, we're 1 game back. Maybe we can get it done. Let's go ahead and sim it, and we lose. So unfortunately, we were that close, guys. We were 1 game out of the wild card spot. Let me actually go ahead and see what that final standing was. 2 games out. We finished 2 games out of the wild card, 1 game behind the Nationals, 2 games behind the Phillies, and really not that far behind the Padres, who are one of our biggest competitors here within the division. So, really good way, honestly, to finish out the season strong. And let's go ahead and recap some of our biggest performers during the season, especially during that last month, because, man, did we get a lot of W's. You guys can see all that green on the screen. Unfortunately, we get swept by the Padres here in the final series, but wow, what a month of September there. I think the first thing that I have to do here is obviously commend the starting pitching rotation for what they've done so far this season. Johnny Cueto actually looking really good. 3.19 ERA, which is obviously not stellar or anything like that, but that's really good for a 76 overall 35-year-old. He went 8-8 on the season, but this is looking like a guy that I might want to keep around. I might try to give him a single-year contract if he doesn't want too much money. But then on top of that, we got really good production out of Logan Webb, who had a 4.48 ERA, 9-12. So, he's young, 24 years old. I didn't expect much more out of him than that, but that's looking up for him. He'll be good in the future. Aaron Sanchez went 12-9 with a 5.26 ERA, so he must have gotten a lot of run support because he is 12-9, even though his ERA suffered more than Logan Webb's. Tyler Beede, 4.48 ERA, 5-7, pretty solid from a young player like him. And then Jojo Romero played outstanding. I mean, lights out for being like a 67 or 68 overall when we called him up. Coming over from basically being a bullpen player, 6-3, 3.67 ERA. really, really like what I see out of him, and I like this rotation for next year. Now, obviously, Cueto is not guaranteed to come back, but a huge fan of what we got going on there. And then we have a couple of guys here that are potentially knocking on the door. Menez not playing very well once he got called up to AAA. Seth Corey looking like he might be able to get called up to AAA soon, but nobody that is really right now going to jump into the rotation. So this could be our rotation for next year. I think Webb, Sanchez, Bede, and Romero are pretty much locked in. We might just, switch Cueto out with another free agent or something like that. We'll have to see what happens money-wise. We're obviously not going to go out of our way to pay somebody a lot with what we have going on with the team. But, kind of impressed with the starting rotation at season's end. I honestly kind of have to say the same thing for the bullpen as well. For the majority of these guys, 3.19, 3.52, and I know ERA isn't necessarily the most important thing for bullpen players, but you guys can see nobody here performed poorly, or at least to my expectations. These guys all played really well. Jose Alvarez did kind of regress. He's getting up there in age, so we'll kind of see what happens with him. We might be looking for a different arm in the bullpen, but I'm not too upset with what I see here, and maybe Jace Fry and Matt Whistler can really get it going as be potential guys, and they could be staples for the future. We'll see with that. And then in terms of closing pitchers, Jake McGee, probably on his way out. I don't really know what's going to happen with him. He is under contract for another year. He might be a release. It really just depends on if he stays at that 77 overall. He's probably not going to be the closer for next year because I really did like what I saw out of Caleb Berriger here. From him, in terms of stats, he came in with 12 saves, only 2 blown saves. And for a guy that came up as a mid to high 68 overall, or mid to high 60 overall, pretty solid, and I think that he is the future at closer for right now, so I like that out of him as well. At catcher, we actually saw really good production out of the veteran Buster Posey as well as the young AAA All-Star Joey Bart, who came up and has phenomenal development so far. I don't know if maybe he ends up being the long-term solution. Patrick Bailey here is potentially, going to work some things out in AAA, and we want him to maybe be the long-term answer at catcher. But Joey Bart doing enough to keep that hope in mind that maybe he could be the guy. Maybe he could be the one that takes over for Posey eventually. So, really nice things going on there at catcher. And then at first base, Brandon Belt kind of struggled. Again, we mentioned in the prior video that he doesn't really want to return. He didn't seem to want to accept a contract. So this position is really up in the air right now. Darren Ruff will not be back. He didn't play well in the MLB or in AAA, which is oddly enough going to leave Logan Wyatt as the next man up. And it's not going to show me his AAA stats. I can't see his AA stats, but he batted like 350 in AA. This guy might have to make the jump to MLB level. I don't want to necessarily do that. I think that it would be best to at least bring somebody in or move somebody over to first base, maybe one of those catchers to play there and give him a little bit more time to develop. But, first base up in the air. Second base as well. Tommy LaStella, Donovan Solano, I think both up for contracts. LaStella is staying around, but Solano is up for a contract. I think I have no choice but to keep him around. He's just batted too well. He's got too good of contact to not stick around. A really good kind of on-base man. But Jahmai Jones also batted really well whenever he came up to the majors, batting .393. So the other thing is to be said here is that we want to kind of clear space for him. So maybe we just have to let Solano walk. Maybe Solano can transition to first base and take over that mantle. That could be a potential answer. At third base, I really liked what I saw out of Thairo Estrada when he came up to the major leagues, so I'm kind of confident in him being at least the temporary third baseman and developing there on that side. And then Luis Toribio is, up to 70 overall A potential, looking like he's going to have to be in AAA next year, and he'll be knocking on the door for sure. I mean, maybe he won't play well, but based on his stats and what he's looking like, I think he'll be knocking on the door soon, and definitely looking forward to that. And then in terms of shortstops, Marco Luciano is up to a 70 overall A potential. Matt Wilson is up to a 70 overall with B potential. Brandon Crawford really took a hit in terms of regression. So there is, some question marks surrounding him. He's making a lot of money. I would really like to bring Brandon Crawford back if he doesn't retire. Maybe bring him back as like a, I don't know, depth bench type of player. But really, he doesn't offer a whole lot, and we might just have to go with Will Wilson or Marco Luciano. Again, another position where things are up in the air right now because of age and regression. And then in left field, Mike Tauchman batted .244 this season. Not really looking for him to come back in particular. Ramos batted really well in Double-A, which caused us to call him up to Triple-A. Has batted pretty good so far in Triple-A. We might just have to start him. Lamont Wade didn't bat very well in the MLB, but I feel like once I get my hands on him and I can use him a little bit myself, he might be able to be better. I mean, he's gone up in terms of progression pretty well. So there's that to be noted. But, realistically speaking, we might have to take like a Pittsburgh Pirates type of approach to things here, where a lot of these prospects are just going to be called up and starting in the major leagues next season just because of need. And honestly, that works out pretty well for this series, because you guys are going to get to see a lot more gameplay with these guys, considering, that's kind of the goal. Once we have these prospects up and we can utilize them, then you're going to get to see a lot of gameplay with them. Mauricio Dubon kind of fell off at bat, really solid defender, a little bit slow. I'm thinking maybe moving him to a corner outfield spot would be better for him. Steven Duggar, though, batted really well, and a little bit faster. I think maybe he'll be the starter in center field next year. And then in terms of the prospects, we really don't have anybody performing all that well. Bryce Johnson did bat pretty well over there in AAA, but in limited at-bats. And then in right field, this is one that's a little interesting. So we kept Yastrzemski around, and he's going to be a staple for a couple of years for us. Austin Slater also played pretty well, batting .268. And then Aristides Aquino, the guy that we acquired, also played pretty well until he got that torn ACL. So that one's kind of unfortunate. And then prospect-wise, we still have a ways to go with Franklin Labor, unfortunately not batting very well when he came up to AAA. A couple of things that are nice to note here is that both of our farm systems did make the playoffs. Unfortunately, the River Cats of AAA were eliminated from the playoffs. And then this one is really nice to see. So the Flying Squirrels, our Double-A affiliate, actually won the Northeast Championship Series. So that's a fantastic outlook for our prospects. It says a lot about this farm system. So let's go ahead and see who wins the World Series. You guys can see the Mets are locked in on the right side, and it's looking like pretty likely that the Yankees are going to be over there. So we could have a full New York World Series here, which would be very interesting. And we do. New York Yankees versus New York Mets. Let's go ahead and advance through, maybe take a look at it kind of live and see how this goes. All right, it's 1-1 in the series. New York Mets go up 2-1. Yankees tie it 2-2. Yankees take the 3-2 lead. And Mets tie it up. Man, this is a crazy World Series. And the Mets managed to come back and pull it off. The Mets, of all teams, defeat the Yankees in the 2021 World Series. I was not expecting that with how the Dodgers ran away with things. But man, wow, what a result right there. No surprise here, after 1 year in our franchise, Albert Pujols goes down in history. He is inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2021. And then we're going to have some coach re-signings or coach positions to fill, because we actually had 3 coaches retire on us, which has never happened to me before. And I'm going to close out today's video with that. I want to do a lot of this stuff in one video in terms of the off season. I want to do most of that in a single video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing how the end of the season played out there today and recapping some of the stats. I think this one's a little bit of a quicker video, so hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you guys enjoy seeing us kind of breeze through and sim through season 1. We're going to be getting more gameplay as we move forward, but keep that in mind that we were doing this on purpose. So leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys have a good one.